Hi, and welcome everybody to another edition of the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Podcast. I'm your host, Ross Benjamin of rbwins.com. And on Fridays, as always, that dapper gentleman on the other side of me with the shirt and tie on, Mr. Chip Chirimbus of chipwins.com. Chip, we missed you last week.
Well, sometimes you got to act like an adult, and I got dressed. I had to put a tie on. I mean, we hate to do it. The business we're in keeps us young, keeps us like kids. But
Absolutely.
Sometimes you have responsibilities to meet. And I'm sorry about last week. It was in the bird. There was nothing I can do about it. But we're back up and running right now, and looks to be back.
Yeah, no need to apologize, Chip. We missed you. That's all.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, so we have two Major League Baseball free picks for Saturday the 7th, folks. We are recording on Friday the 6th. But before we get to those Major League Baseball free picks, a couple of sports betting notes to discuss. Let's start with Major League Baseball, Chip. I just mentioned to you off air. I went 2-0-1 in Major League Baseball last night. I bet all unders, but I was uncomfortable in doing so because these numbers are just getting so damn low. As a matter of fact, tomorrow's card, there's 10 games with lines on it right now on tomorrow's card. And again, we're taping around Friday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern time. So well in advance. And as of right now, the 10 games that are listed, 6 of those games, Chipper, have totals of 7 or less. What, in your opinion, I know I'm catching you a little off guard with this question, but in your opinion, what's going on with these low-scoring games in Major League Baseball this year?
Well, maybe it's the baseballs, which I doubt. I think it's just early season, pitchers being that far out in front. And, Ross, it used to be that the pitchers, it would take more time for them to get ahead of the hitters. But with pitchers only throwing one inning every single game, you're in shape by the second week of the season. So that may be a factor. I'm not really sure about the totals. I know one thing: you can't go into the 9th inning with a 7-1 lead if you have the Phillies.
You know what? We were joking off air last night. Chip had texted me. We go back and forth on occasion, sharing what's going on with our picks. And he says, Ross, you believe the Phillies? They blew a 7-1 lead. And I had to bite my tongue because I gave out the Mets as a free pick yesterday on the Winner's Circle podcast. And it's like, it's just a free pick. And this guy just took a burn on a top plate.
It was 7-1, and it was 7-1 in the 9th. It was 7-0 in the 6th. But that's why we call it gambling, Ross. Yeah. And baseball's a magical thing. It hadn't happened in 857 games or something like that. But I can beat the odds when it comes to getting beat like that. I'll tell you that.
You sound like Doug Upstone now. Yeah, every bad beaten overtime game goes against him.
My record there isn't very good either.
Yeah, he claims the same thing. He claims he's like 100 games below 500 in overtime. So, anyway, and I'm not doubting that, but it's just, we don't remember the ones we win like that. You know what I mean? So,
I don't think I ever won one like that. I'm
sorry. Yeah. Okay.
I always win those nice games. We're up 6-1. We win 6-1. We don't blow 7-0 leads.
Yeah. So anyway, Doug made a mention the other day when we were discussing this topic that all teams are now using the humidor on their baseballs.
Okay.
I mean, that could be an attributing factor. I mean, I remember back when Coors Field first opened, Chip, and they were getting those outrageous scores and outrageous amount of home runs, and the totals were getting up in the 13.5 and 14 range, and they started using humidors there.
The pitchers don't have the sticky stuff, so I'm wondering. There's it's converse to what we're looking at right now. And it's. Hey, I don't know so much about why the runs are scoring. They go up in July and August. Is this the trend going to remain? How long is this going to be, Ross? I mean, you're more astute on the totals than I am.
Yeah, but the thing is there eventually you got to go the other way because the sports books now are, they're lowering these totals to ridiculous numbers, and they're still going under. Like last night, I had the Houston game 3-2 final. I had the Tampa Bay game with Seattle. That pushed at 7 with 4-3. And then Miami and San Diego 2-1. I'm interested to hear, why I took that Miami and San Diego game under, Chip? throw all the statistics out the window. San Diego plays a doubleheader the day before on the East Coast. And the same thing with their opponent playing Miami, that was playing at home on the East Coast. And now they travel across 3 time zones, both teams, and with no rest. I mean, I'll no-brain my way through that a lot of times, because I use the adage tired bats. I mean, do you ever look at stuff like that? I know you don't play totals.
I think I pay attention to it, but
Yeah.
I don't always let that be a deciding factor because, the way they use rosters nowadays, Ross, I mean, your reserves are playing a lot more. Starters are sitting more often. And you may have arrested players out there as it is.
Yeah. Well, I look, also to take into consideration, both leagues are using the DH now, which is the first year, second year, actually.
Yeah, but I want to comment on that, Ross. That's a
Go
good
ahead.
point. How's it working out in the National League where pitchers now can throw at batters with impunity and hits batsmen are up like 40%? I mean, this is getting silly out here. And I think they ought to just get rid of the DH, get rid of those old fogies that can't play the field and make the pitcher come and hit. I mean, Pedro Martinez had impunity because he hit the first Yankee and the next guy that throws that, someone gets thrown out of the game. And that's the bad rule now is that when a guy gets hit, the next pitcher, no retaliation, not because the pitcher doesn't get to the plate, but because the next pitch thrown toward the other team, the pitcher's thrown out of the game. So I hate the DH. I never liked it. I don't hate it as much as I hate the man on second base in extra innings. I'll tell you that much. So.
Yeah, that's a topic of controversy when it comes to discussing Major League Baseball in 2022. And then we had a starting pitcher get thrown out of the game after the first inning because how they checked their fingers and looking for substances. And he felt, and I can't think who the pitcher was. It was a top flight pitcher. He got thrown out at the end of the first inning. Maybe one of the
it was Russell Baumgartner was jockeying.
It was Baumgartner. That's correct.
He was jockeying from the bench. So no matter who you are, if you're pitch, but
no, what happened?
Well,
what happened is they checked him. Okay.
Oh, yeah, they were checking him for stuff. Right.
They were like, they took an inordinate amount of time to check him. Okay. If you just base it on the average, usually it's a real quick check and move on.
Yeah.
But they went, they went through him with a fine tooth and comb. And the opposing pitcher he came across and they just did it real quick, with a matter of seconds. So Baumgartner took exception to that. It turned into a heated argument. And he gets thrown out of the game. Now, this is stuff we wouldn't have seen, even 5 years ago, because that rule wasn't in place. And boy, Gaylord Perry, how long would he have lasted?
He had a nail file with him. I mean,
and you talk about these brushback pitches and pitchers getting worn and thrown out of the game for a first hit batsman. How do you think Bob Gibson would have done in this era? I know I'm going to piss off a lot of the young people out there because I'm making this old time reference. Yeah. But for those you too young to remember, Bob Gibson was the most fierce pitcher in all of baseball. And Chip can comment on this as well. I mean, he threw regularly through inside and he challenged you. And if you wanted to fight, he was all for it. So
I like the story about at St. Louis when the first inning when Mays came up and he's digging a hole and he's getting rid of the white line. And all of a sudden he looks up and he sees it's Gibson on the mound. He calls timeout and he fills in the hole. How much more respect can you have than that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Anyway, the NBA playoffs. Again, folks, we'll have 2 Major League Baseball free picks for you on Saturday, May 7th coming up. So stay tuned for that. The NBA playoffs, Chip, some observations I wrote down here.
But you've been doing absolutely outrageous. I can't believe following you. I mean, I should just pay for your service myself and then reuse your games because I think you're like 19 or whatever it is.
No,
I'm pretty happy with 37 and 22. And here you are, like just blowing me out of the water. I'm not very happy about that part.
Yeah, but my streak isn't quite as long as yours. It's 19 and 4.
Yeah, but it is impressive. It is very impressive.
19 and 4 with my 10-star top plays in all sports, including 9 and 1 with my last 10. And the NBA 25 and 13 since April 1st. Thank you for bringing that up, Chip. I appreciate it. And
You know,
for those of you who don't know where to find me, rbwins.com, and you can find Chip Chirimbus at chipwins.com. Anyway, Chipper, the Phoenix Suns, 50% or better in all 8
Right.
playoff games this year, just shooting lights out. And much to our chagrin, because we both had Dallas in game 2
Yeah.
of that series against Phoenix, they shot 64% in that game. And I
Yeah.
know when we talk later, I said, Chip, it just seemed like in the fourth quarter, they didn't miss a shot, you know, and it went from a 4-point deficit. We were looking good early in the fourth to next thing you know, they were up 24, Phoenix. So any comments?
Yeah, I'm undaunted about that because I was 3-0 the day before, got crushed there. I had them as my top play, but I'll tell you what, I'm coming back with my NBA semifinal game of the year on Saturday. I love this matchup between the Celtics and the Bucks. Don't miss it. Chipwins.com. This is my single strongest NBA play of the year. And you know, Ross, how we've done with those big games.
Oh, yeah, very well. You just alluded to it, and myself as well. And you know what struck me about that game, and I know it's not the total, it's your NBA game of the year, correct?
Yeah, right.
Okay. So the total in that game, 213. You know, yeah, Milwaukee's gone under in all 7 games, but you're talking about 2 of the most prolific scoring teams in the NBA during the regular season. And boy, if things shifted. I mean, I mentioned Milwaukee has gone under in all 7 playoff games, but Chip, they've held 4 of those 7 opponents to 95 or less, and they've also scored less than 100.
Not only that, the Celtics have gone 10-1 to the under in their last 11 semifinal conference games. And I'll throw a monkey wrench on the whole thing, is that Boston's number 1 on total defense. They're only allowing 104.5 points a game, number 1 on field goal percentage defense and 3-point field goal percentage defense. So, you know, I think the numbers coming down with Middleton out for Milwaukee, maybe it's a really lower scoring game than most people envision.
Yeah. I mean, to me, they're begging you to take the over. You know what I'm saying? And when I see that, more times than not, when I see that, I will lean the other way.
I could see that.
But it's something worth noting, certainly. And you know, Milwaukee, what I notice about them is they're an average to below average team defensively during the regular season. But boy, once the postseason starts, look what they did last year. I mean, they shut teams down at times.
But and I think this kid is just unstoppable. If he just wants to go to the hoop, just give him the ball out by, you know, half midcourt, and you're not going to stop him. He may not make the shot, but you're just not going to stop him from going to the hoop.
I mean, if he doesn't make the shot, a lot of times he's getting fouled, or he's doing both.
And he makes his free throws too.
Yeah.
Well, he went 17 for 19 last year in the finals in one of those games.
Yeah, he did. But I mean,
the long way, because that used to be his Achilles heel, I would think. I mean, I remember.
Yeah.
I understand why you're groaning, because I remember him being like 4 for 13 and 4 for 9, things like that. But you know, his outside shooting also has matured, has grown as his game.
His mid-range game is a lot better. Yes, he hit. They kept leaving him open and challenging him to shoot from mid-range, right around the foul circle or a little above, and he was knocking them down. But he again, not to be argumentative, but he made his first 2 free throws in game 2, and then he missed his next 6. So he's still got a ways to go in that department. But you're absolutely correct. You know what I mean? When the chips were down, and I believe that was the clinching game. When they won the world championship last year, when he went 17 for 19. So some interesting stuff going on there, folks. I have an NBA 10-star top play going tonight. It's a money line selection. It goes in the Western Conference semifinal game. And for those of you who've been following me this year, know my NBA money line picks this year, none of them have exceeded -135. And I have gone 16-0 with those picks this year. Phoenix and Dallas money line pick for Friday night. Now, I don't know if you're going to get to that in time, but that game tips off at 9:30. We're taping around 5. I hope to get this up around 5:30. But if not, keep that in mind going forward, because one hell of a run there with my NBA money line picks this year. Anyway, Chipper, what do you got for us in baseball on Saturday?
All right, Major League Baseball, you know, we started the season. I had said that some teams that had bad years, which were unexpected, are looking for them to bounce back, and the Minnesota Twins are one of those teams. After a so-so start, they're 15-11, which isn't bad at all. And Oakland has just been totally decimated. They lost Chapman, they lost Olson, they lost the two starting pitchers with Bassett and Manaea. And sooner or later, losing all these quality players is going to affect your team, whether you're playing Billy Ball or not. They lost 5 of the last 6. They're 10-15 on the year. As a matter of fact, they've only won 2 of the last 10. But the reason why I like Minnesota here, and the line is too heavy to lay the money, Ross. I think we have to play the run line with the Twins, whose bats have come alive, is that Chris Paddock is on the mound. Now, 4 years ago, I thought this kid was going to be really good. I was really liking his starts and backing him. But I guess he's had injuries. I'm not exactly sure if it's arm, shoulder problems or whatever, but he hasn't been efficient. He's been jettisoned from San Diego to Minnesota. He's 1-2, but his ERA is only 3.15. Yeah. I sort of have an affinity for him. I think Minnesota's in a good spot here with the A's being virtually decimated. They got half a roster there in my mind, and yet you're still going to get good baseball out of them because that's the way they play. But I think Minnesota here, and I'm willing to lay the run and take the Twins at home.
Yep, Minnesota -1.5 plus 105 as we speak. Now, remember, folks, these lines are subject to change depending on when you view this video. Just keep in mind, there's going to be some times where the lines change drastically because we're taping 24 hours in advance, but we always grade the plays on the line we're using at the time of taping. Sometimes that works for us, sometimes that works against us. Also, Chipper, in regards to a couple of your comments or in your analysis, number one, Oakland has just been anemic offensively over the last couple of weeks. They've scored 3 runs or less, Chipper, in 11 of their last 14 games. And lo and behold, Oakland, again, they're back to the same old cycle. You get real good, your players get good, and then you don't want to pay them. So the best thing that can happen to the A's franchise is they move to your city, the city of sin, Las Vegas. So we'll see, but rumors abound in that regard. All right, my free pick, Chip. I'm going to look at the Milwaukee at Atlanta game tomorrow night, 7:20 p.m. Eastern time. That's Saturday evening, by the way, May the 7th. And the starting pitchers, Corbin Burns for the Milwaukee Brewers and Max Fried for the Atlanta Braves. Corbin Burns this year 4-0-1 to the under in 5 starts, and his 130 or 193 and 0.74 whip have a lot to do with that. And this is a guy who logs a lot of innings. He's not one of these guys that the manager's ready to take the hook out after 5 innings of pitching real well. He averages 6.5 innings pitched per start. And a matter of fact, over those 5 starts, 43 strikeouts against only 7 walks and 32 1/3 innings. This guy is getting it done. He's not walking many hitters. He's striking out more than a batter an inning, and his ERA and whip speaks volumes. Now, Max Fried has been in excellent form over his last 3 starts. This is a kid that came up, Chipper, as you know, a couple of years ago and took the league by storm. And unfortunately, he got hurt. And now it looks like he's returning to his rookie form. In his last 3 starts, a 1.42 ERA, a 0.53 whip. You know what the most impressive part about Fried has been to me this year is his pinpoint control. This guy, over 30 innings pitched, has walked 1 hitter. That's it. And boy, oh boy, we all know those base on balls could really affect you if you're on the mound, especially of the leadoff variety. Since 2019, Fried 3-0 versus Milwaukee with a 1.80 ERA. So very good. They're both bullpens pitching very well heading into the weekend. And I'm not taking Friday's game into account because it hasn't been played yet. We're taping 24 hours in advance. The Milwaukee bullpen over their last 7, 1.69 ERA. The Braves bullpen over their last 7, a 0.82 ERA. So these bullpens have been stopping opponents cold once they take over. Milwaukee, their offense has really picked up, Chip. I mean, they're averaging 8 runs per game over their last 9. But, it's against Pittsburgh, the Cubs, and the Reds. And those 3 teams, a combined 22 and 51. So don't get too caught up with those offensive numbers because prior to that, they were having trouble scoring runs. I think they'll have a lot of trouble scoring runs tomorrow, and the Braves will as well. Both bullpens are pitching real well. Both starting pitchers right now are pitching at the top of their games. It's a low number, and for good reason. It's 6.5, but I'm not going to let that scare me away, Chip. I'm going to take Milwaukee, Atlanta under the total of 6.5.
You know, Ross, I have a bit of trivia about both starting pitchers in this game. Max Fried was a #1 draft pick 10 years ago, and his high school teammate, also a pitcher, was also a #1 draft pick, and that is Giolito from Chicago White Sox. Those two pitched for the same high school in California.
Wow.
And the little piece of trivia about Corbin Burns, you know, he's one of my favorites, is that he didn't walk his second batter last year until he had 56 strikeouts. Because you had mentioned his ratio between strikeouts and walks. So
yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, I remember that. And I would like to know who is the ace of that high school staff.
Yeah, if it was Fried went first. He went 8th. I think Lucas Giolito went 16th, and that was 10 years ago in the draft. And Correa, the shortstop from Houston, now playing in Minnesota, was the #1 pick.
Yeah, there you go. There's some good trivia. I hope that team won the state championship with those. I would, if not, that coach.
Well, it was a California school, and they may have come.
Yeah, there's good baseball in California, but come on, Chip. Your top 2 guys in the staff are #1 draft choices.
They both went in the first round.
Yeah, I mean, or first round. I'm sorry, but yeah, it reminds me of the Ole Miss scenario when they had AJ Brown and the kid from Seattle, DK Metcalf, and then they had the tight end from Buffalo, Dawson Knox, all in the lineup at the same time, and they went 5-7. That coach got fired at the end of the year too.
That reminds me when I was a kid one time when the Mets were struggling, and my sister screamed, "Hey, the Mets scored 19 runs." I said, "Great, did they win?"
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, folks, if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please take a second to do so. And while you're doing so, please hit that notification bell, and you'll be alerted immediately upon any of our free pick videos going up on our channel. And for those of you who have subscribed, and there's 7,500 of you out there now, boy, oh boy, we appreciate it, folks. If you're not getting those notifications when we put our picks or our videos up, go into your YouTube settings, just hit the notification bell, and you'll start receiving them rather than emailing me and texting me during the day to say, what time are you doing the videos? So, because we're on a very flexible schedule here, and that's the way we like it, and that's how we get it done. Anyway, Chipper, until the next time, I hope you have a great weekend, my friend. And for everybody else out there, for Chip Chirimbus and Ross Benjamin, we wish you all the very best this coming weekend. Stay safe, win a lot of money, take care, and God bless. All in that order.